So, hi Shubhantha, and once again, welcome to the Health Site, and really glad that you're here with us.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. I wish you and everyone, all of the viewers, a very happy World Mental Health Day. I think this day is so significant because it is mostly about raising awareness about mental health and mental illness, being advocates of mental illness to destigmatize and de-generalize the stigma that people have for mental health. I think this is so crucial and so need of the hour.
All right, coming back to the general question, which I think the myth about that, as you said, mental illness and about it. So, starting with that, can you please tell our viewers that what is mental illness if we talk in the basic term?
So, it's any condition that causes a disruption in anyone's thought, affect, or behavior, and also their activities of daily living. So, anything that is affecting these criterias can be seen as can be called as mental illness. And another point is that anything that's outside a person's normalcy, right? Somebody might, and that might be their normal behavior. That doesn't mean that they should check for having ADHD, right? But if they were not a hyper person, for example, just taking a very generic example, then we can be concerned about this, about their behavior, right?
All right, okay. Talking about the generalized age group, if we move on to the age group, and like rarely it is said that mostly teenage or adult people, mostly in the age of after the age of 25 or mostly at the age of 30, people do face
Right.
symptoms like ADHD or talking about any such mental problem. So, what do you have to say on that? And talking about the specific age group once again, what exact age group do suffer from mental illness?
I don't think there is a particular age group that people fall into when it comes to mental illness. I think any age group can experience this, right? It's as common as people, like, there is no age group of people having fever, right? It's a very similar circumstance here in mental health as well. There is no age group. Anybody from children to adults to older adults can experience this.
I said mostly there are myths that people at the age of 25 or 30 or mostly when they are walking towards that adulthood have dealt with mental illnesses and such mental problems. So people have a myth about that. So to what extent it is true? And yes, the former part of my questions has been answered by you. So yeah.
The myth is, I don't know about the myth, but what it's not necessary that only people above the age group of 55 or 30 experience this. It's just more, we hear about it a lot because people of these age groups are more open to seeking help. So we feel like, okay, these age groups are the ones who are experiencing these issues, and it's prevalent in these age groups more than any other. Sorry, more than any other age group. But it's just that I think people of the adolescents, right? Children and adolescents. I think there and the older adults. Um, the concept of mental health is still not profound in their lives. So them seeking out for help is not seen that often when compared to people of say 20 to 40. These are the ones who actually seek out, and plus, I think also their age group is quite significant in terms of them um, you know uh, working hard, trying to sort their lives out. It could be work stress, it could be their personal life, they're trying to settle, they're doing so many things, they're juggling so many things. So I think in those terms I can say, yeah, um, uh, people of these age groups might be more mental health might be more prevalent in these age groups.
All right, moving on to the identification. So we've seen a lot of celebrities being vocal about mental health, and I think Deepika Padukone is one of them. So recently, she's
Right.
in Tamil Nadu, and she's talked about mental health on a big platform now. So talking about the signs and symptoms now. If you talk about identification, if you talk about the signs, and if you talk about the symptoms, uh, how does it prevail, and how does it moves to step by step, talking about the signs, symptoms, and identification?
I would say the signs and symptoms vary widely across the spectrum of disorders that is classified by some international boards like ICD and DSM. And also, it varies from disorder to disorder. So there is no set signs and symptoms for mental illness. But if you, like as I mentioned earlier, anything outside the normalcy of a person, which is that is affecting their life, right? I mean, everybody feels sad, everybody feels anxious. It is normal. But when does it become a disorder? When it starts affecting their life. I mean, we all have tendencies. We all have traits of OCD. Sorry, but it doesn't mean that we have obsessive compulsive disorder. But when does it become a disorder? It becomes a disorder when maybe a person is spending excessive amounts of time acting upon these signs and symptoms, right? Like probably checking, or like washing their hands very frequently. That the top layer of their skin is literally peeling off, right? But they cannot get over the thoughts and the compulsions. So if I could speak about a few disorders, yeah, that would be great. So coming to clinical depression, which is the most common, I think feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and worthlessness, apart from having um, you know sleep disturbances and appetite disturbances, right? Like they might be eating more or they might be eating less. And also they might have suicidal ideations, they might have self-harm tendencies. And so these are some of the telltale signs of clinical depression. And when moving on to anxiety disorder, right? When does it become the telltale signs of anxiety disorder are, feeling apprehensive, fearing the unknown, worrying about uncertainty, right? This could be again a huge classification, an umbrella term in itself, where there are multiple types of anxiety disorders, and it could be specific, it could be generic in nature. Like we hear about agoraphobia, we hear about claustrophobia, we hear about hemophobia and things like that. So these are specific anxiety disorders. But generic is a generalized anxiety disorder where there's no specific reason for somebody to feel anxious. They're generically anxious for most things about their life. So that's something about anxiety disorder,
Okay.
right? Right.
All right. Okay. My next questions after the signs and symptoms, I was thinking to ask about the treatment, but rather I would say, what are the solutions for this? As you said, you were talking about anxiety, right? You mentioned anxiety. So what
Right.
if one day people are feeling apprehensive, and there are times when we are dealing with some mental illness, and if you are mentally not fit that day, and if we have to attend some there's some meeting or there's some big event happening, and we're anxious about something or the other. So what's the solution for it, and how to deal with that?
I think, yeah, this is a great question, by the way. I think we all experience this on a day-to-day, basis, and a, a quick, easy tip to really calm down and stay composed at times of anxiety is, giving yourself that pep talk that you can do it, looking at anxiety as excitement. I think that really helps shifting your thought, basically, into looking at it as because the symptoms of anxiety and excitement are very, very similar. So you can really trick your brain into believing that you are feeling excited, you're not anxious, and that also helps you gain something out of the whole experience or whatever you're feeling anxious about. And another thing is that doing a quick breath work, deep breathing, um, right? Maybe like a quick meditation of 5 to 10 minutes without like being disturbed. That also would really help. And focusing on I mean, being confident about the knowledge that you have instead of worrying about, okay, like usually people feel anxious because they fear the judgment of the viewers or like the people around them, right? Like, so I think just being confident that the whole point of them being in that spot is because they know more than the other person. Like, for instance, stage fright, right? Or like, you have to give a presentation at work, and this is very important. Just knowing that, okay, you know what it is that you have to say, and just being confident about that, and delivering that without any hesitation. Keeping that aside, you can worry later. I mean, that's what I would say. Just focus on your goal. The goal is to like deliver it well. So that's it from
All
my
right, Shamanta, I think that was a great shift. And thank you so much for all the solutions and telling us and for clearing out all the myths about mental illness. And yes, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. It's been a pleasure, and I thank you for having me over. And thank you for giving me this opportunity, and not just for this opportunity, but for prioritizing mental health and speaking about it and letting people know about it. So thank you.
All right, thank you.